Yeah, I am no longer a partnered creator with Brawlhalla. And to dispel any rumors right away, I was not kicked out, I was not banished, I did not have a falling out with anyone at BMG, no chairs were thrown, nothing like that. In fact, my decision to leave has nothing to do with Brawlhalla themselves, and don't worry, I'll explain everything. First of all though, what is a partnered creator? If you don't know, I made a video a while back talking about all of it, but that video sucks, so here's this TLDR. In September of 2019, I got a DM from Brawlhalla inviting me to this new thing they were testing. It was called the Partner Program, where Brawlhalla creators could have a social media contact at BMG and potentially pitch ideas for future involvement of creators in the game. A little while later, I had this long extended pitch that I gave, and it was for this idea where creators could reveal upcoming content, announce upcoming tournaments, etc., stuff like that, and surprisingly, I actually got a response back, and they liked it. Eventually that turned into Battle Pass reveals for no work of my own, to be clear. I just made a few videos, and that's pretty much where we are today. Creators are given a bit of early access to Battle Pass assets, and they're able to reveal them first so that they can get a little bit of outside attention for their own little areas that they might not otherwise, and then BMG can spread the announcements over multiple days while still keeping it exciting so that it's not all centralized on the one account that people might get tired of. That's a super quick recap of just my involvement with the partner program. Of course, there's loads of other people, but now you're all caught up. So why am I leaving? Well, earlier this week, we were told that due to new FCC requirements, that's the Federal Communications Commission of the United States, they deal with all sorts of regulations regarding media, all Brawlhalla partners going forward would have to clearly disclose their connection to the program in any Brawlhalla-related content they make. So if you're doing a giveaway with codes provided by Ubisoft's media team, you'll have to disclose with #BrawlhallaPartner. If you're revealing the Battle Pass with assets given to you by BMG, #BrawlhallaPartner in your YouTube description, or I am partnered with Brawlhalla visibly at the top, and those all make sense. But you'll also need to do that for all of your other future Brawlhalla content. If your Brawlhalla video or stream has nothing to do with being a partnered creator, you still need to include that in anything you share simply because you're in the Discord server. It means going forward, all of my videos or streams would need that disclosure legally, that #BrawlhallaPartner in the title or the description, or a bot would have to regularly ping the chat with all that information, despite the video or stream having no connection to the program whatsoever. It's almost like I would have to say I'm sponsored for every single Brawlhalla video I make, except I'm not sponsored, even remotely. And I really want to emphasize this. This isn't Brawlhalla's requirements. This isn't BMG's legal team. This isn't even Ubisoft's legal team. I'm willing to bet that none of them even want this. But by this new federal regulation, they have to require it. Everyone I've spoken to at BMG about this has been great. They've been accommodating, kind, understanding. This has nothing to do with them. It's just an unfortunate result of these new procedures. To put this all into perspective, the number of videos I made that are directly tied to the partner program over the past 2 entire years? 6. 5 videos of Battle Pass reveals, and 1 where I talk about the program. If you want to include crossover videos where I got codes from Ubisoft, I guess technically it's a bit more, maybe like 10 to 15, I'm not really sure, but I very much could have made all of those on my own. It's 6 videos that I could not have made without being in the partner program, and don't get me wrong, I really loved making them, but in that same time frame, I made 377 other videos at the time of this recording. It feels very strange to me to tie literally almost 99% of what I do going forward to the program, when the program doesn't have any relation to those videos themselves. To be clear, I wouldn't have to retroactively adjust all those past videos, but I make this calculation to demonstrate that it's a tiny fraction of what I create. This disclosure, although it seems minor, is not just detrimental to the video's performance, which it is, and that's my job right now, so unfortunately I kind of have to care about that, but more than that, it also doesn't feel truthful. I'm not on a salary, I'm not being paid, the benefits are minimal, and I'll explain all of that in a bit, and just generally, while I totally understand that as the game gets bigger and more official, legal has to come into play, it was bound to happen eventually, yada yada yada, I don't like the feeling that my creations that I make with my mind, with my hands, would be legally connected to something that I have such little actual ties to. It doesn't make sense for me to stay given what the program has been. I mean, I'm just sitting AFK in the Discord until the next Battle Pass season rolls around, and suddenly I catch a stray from the FCC telling me I gotta FCC myself in court. I don't want to be around anymore. So, okay, I lay that all out, but what actually are the benefits? What am I leaving behind? Well, here's what being a partner doesn't give you, because I feel like I should clear some things up here. It doesn't give you any early access to any announcement or information that's not Battle Pass, and even Battle Pass is restricted to your one specific reveal. It doesn't give you any say in balance, any say in art, anything related to the game or gameplay itself, none of that. They don't give you NDAs on what you're allowed to say about the game or on social media. I can say whatever I want. They don't give you a salary. I think I mentioned that. You're not being paid off. Basically, it's a very hyper casual environment, and they're detached from pretty much everything you do. You have full creative freedom. You just gotta upload your Battle Pass video when they tell you to, and that's about it, which I feel like most people get, but I think I should mention that because sometimes I see some misconceptions about it. Also, I'm fairly certain everything I'm sharing here has already been said before publicly by other people, so even so, it's not hypersensitive info as far as I'm aware, hopefully. So looping back around, what are the benefits? Well, you get a unique in-game title that's linked to your Brawlhalla ID, has a unique color. You get crossover codes when they come out and extras to give away should you ask for them. You get those Battle Pass materials a week or so early to work on and reveal them. You have access to a BMG social media contact who you can ask to tweet out one of your videos or your works of art, or you can also ask broad questions about the social media side of Brawlhalla. And you have access to the partner server, so you can easily chat with the other creators. I'll go over each of these super briefly. The server, I don't talk to people in general, so we can cross that one off the list, actually. In-game titles. I don't use in-game titles, so it doesn't really affect me one way or another. I did make one video out of it, though, so I've got content brain rot. I don't know what that tells you. Crossover codes are great, despite being known to be a trillionaire. I'm not dripping in cash, so that's very nice. But these are actually technically separate from the partner program. It's a Ubisoft mailing list, if I'm not mistaken, so I think I could be on that without being in the program. Not entirely sure on that. Either way, it's a solid benefit. Battle Pass. This is the big one. It's very cool. It's great to reveal stuff, but I do feel like the value that I place on it has declined as the seasons have gone on. I feel like I put in a ton of work, not for the purpose of expecting anything back. I just want to make cool videos, but at the very least, I was under the impression that this would be the first of many projects to come that we'd be able to work on together, me and Brawlhalla, but it never really got past that initial stage or grew into things that weren't Battle Pass, which is a little bit sad because partners revealing upcoming announcements was that original pitch for the program, and maybe naively I thought it might grow more into a host of different areas or expand its scope, but it kind of stayed exactly the same. So creatively speaking, I felt like it was stagnating as time went on and not really worth pouring that much stress into it just for my own health. With that said though, I still feel like I got to be pretty creative with my reveals, and despite laboring over it, grinding out those hours and hours and hours to get it done, by the end it was extremely rewarding and people seemed to really love them, but I don't think that this alone is enough for me to stay, which I hope is understandable for all of you that enjoyed those videos. Having a BMG contact, that's nice, of course, but understandably they can't tell you much, only questions directly related to content really, which again, it makes complete sense. I don't think that's a drawback, but it's very highly limited in what's allowed to be said, so I think when people hear connection to BMG, they assume there's this secret Illuminati conflict of interest circle, when in reality it's more like I go, So the Ubisoft emailed Excel spreadsheet didn't send me Donatello yet. You think you got a spare? And then they go Z8BKXC-0CNBR5, and then we each go on with our days. Tweeting out videos is another thing that I can speak to. This is something that I think people from the outside may see as a huge benefit, but this is honestly the thing that I think actually has the smallest effect in the program. I'm not much of an analytics Andrew, but I think it helps illustrate things pretty well, so I'll give you a couple examples. The most powerful team in Brawlhalla. This is a Brawl Ball video featuring Foda and Boomy. I thought it'd be nice to tweet out because not only did I enjoy it, but it actually features one of the devs, so I figured, hey, why not? The video currently has about 66,000 views, which that's crazy. But out of those 66,000, how many do you think came from the official Brawlhalla account sharing it? Well, YouTube actually lets you see that, and it's 463 out of 66,000. To be fair, this video started off pretty small and grew later on as it was published, so let's look at one that didn't really grow afterwards. Brawlhalla, the Essential Moonin Guide. This is a Moonin Guide that I made after her release. It's not my best video. After it was released, it didn't grow much at all, and probably rightfully so. I had Brawlhalla tweet this one out, and out of the current 32,000 views, 116 came from Twitter. And this is not to dunk on the Brawlhalla Twitter account or the reach that it has. That would make no sense. It's known that sharing on social media in this way doesn't really do much, and directly linking on Twitter can actually hurt a video's performance due to the click-through algorithm, whatever. I just bring this up to A, be thorough, and B, again, to make note of why I feel comfortable leaving. This FCC requirement is not BMG's decision, so I'm not bitter towards them at all. I'm not bitter in general, but I think this is a good way to illustrate how these benefits are not enough to outweigh everything Brawlhalla related I do being affected, despite a comparatively tiny involvement on my end in the program. I said this at the beginning, I'm in no way trying to bash Brawlhalla at all, I really mean that, and if any of you, I mean this goes without saying, are doing that, hopping on that bandwagon, that's not very chill, but I'm not even really trying to complain about the FCC either, which you might not believe, and that's totally understandable. Maybe I'm lying to myself, but I do think it's helpful to lay out all of these pieces. I really debated talking about this at all because I don't want BMG to receive any blowback. It's not their fault, and while it's a company, quote unquote, it's a small company made of people, and people shouldn't have to deal with other faceless online people directing strange anger at them just for being people, but clearly I decided to do so and make this anyway. For one, I think people were gonna ask when they started seeing others pop up and my lack of involvement in future BP stuff, and I feel awkward giving an incomplete answer, which is fully selfish, I recognize that, but I also think it's just interesting to share for listeners who might want a little behind the scenes, for creators like me who might be interacting or looking to interact creatively with games or developers for the first time and want a little insight, and also for you guys that wanted something more structured to come out of my esophagus. I thought this was the perfect opportunity to have a more casual commentary, because I have been a little bit unhinged lately. Sorry, by the way. Getting back on the main track though, I think there would have to be some kind of incentive or sense of stability for me to stay, maybe monetarily, which to be clear, I'm not asking for, and from the beginning there was no indication that that was what was expected from the program anyway. It's just that when legal gets involved, any kind of developer support now, even if it's microscopic, has to be disclosed, and I'd rather not throw my hat into that whole potential conflict of interest legal ring, because I don't think that's really reflective of what I do, regardless of if I'm in the program or not. And again, there's no limits on what I can say or do or requirements I have to meet, so legally having to say I'm pretty much sponsored in a sense feels totally inaccurate. If I had to guess, the FCC is probably painting these broad strokes on what checkboxes meet the requirements for disclosure, and even though this isn't really matching up to that, or matching up to presumably what they're targeting, it's still included in that sweep, if that makes sense. And that's just me. I've got my own idiosyncrasies about things like this. I'm kind of a weirdo. I think most people would say it's not a big deal, which it probably isn't, but that's how I feel about it. So to sum things up, the FCC is now mandating that any Ubisoft partner, which includes Brawlhalla creators in the partner program, will have to legally disclose that they are partnered directly with the game when they play it, even if the content you're making has no connection to what that partner program offers. Long as it's Brawlhalla, I have to include Brawlhalla partner, hashtag Brawlhalla partner, or I am a partnered creator, and so on, in a place where it's very visibly obvious, which I don't want to do. It's a mix of laziness, angst, and stubbornness, I guess. It just feels strange to tie about 99% of what I do, 6 out of 377, or I guess 7 out of 377 videos now, to the program, when the program doesn't have any relation to that content itself. I completely understand that it's not BMG's choice, but I don't think I could comfortably do that unless I was directly working for Brawlhalla in some way. As far as I know, the Ubisoft crossover codes is like a separate legal entity or something, so that works slightly different on a case-by-case basis. I don't know. Regardless, for now, I am no longer a partner with Brawlhalla. If things change in the future, who knows, I might be back, but that's what's going on. I felt like I should tell you all this because number one, like I said, I think people are gonna ask, so now you can send them this. And number two, I've brought up being in the program here before. It was a meme in the community that I would talk about pissing myself as a partner, so I think I should close that book for now and say why I'm not anymore. What does this all mean for you? 99% of the time, absolutely nothing. I'll make one less video in the next 100. Honestly, I'll probably actually make more because those Battle Pass videos took a long time. Just realizing that now. Alright, thanks for listening, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.